I think one of the biggest misunderstandings about AI right now is that people believe AI creates clarity. But most of the time, people are feeding confusion into tools and expecting clarity to come out automatically. And I can understand why. Because most people are carrying far more mentally than whatever becomes visible. Not just tasks, not just responsibilities, but unfinished thoughts, unmade decisions, half built ideas, things they know matter but haven't fully organized yet. And what I started noticing is that many people are not lacking ideas, they are lacking visible structure. Because when everything stays inside your mind, everything starts feeling equally important. Haven't you noticed that before? Homeschooling, work, meal planning, business ideas, the website you still need to finish, the content you wanted to post, the email you forgot to answer, the curriculum you still need to organize, the idea you know could become something meaningful one day. Tabs, tasks within tasks, subcategories people never see. And eventually, your brain starts trying to carry all of it at the same time. And I think this is why AI feels overwhelming to a lot of people right now. Not because AI itself is confusing, but because people are trying to use AI before they have actually made their own thoughts visible. AI is not the brain, AI is the tool, and tools can only organize what becomes visible first. There's something I've started recognizing about layered responsibilities, especially for women carrying many different roles at the same time. A lot of the work being carried mentally never becomes visible anywhere. And sometimes we write down one task, but inside our minds, there are already 10 invisible subcategories attached to it. Homeschooling, for example, lesson planning, printing, grading, scheduling, supply lists, co op deadlines, reading time. Homeschooling isn't just homeschooling. A business isn't just a business. A YouTube video isn't just a YouTube video. Everything branches into layers. And when those layers never become visible, they begin to compete mentally, mental attention at the same time. And that's usually when people start saying things like, I don't know where to start. I have too many ideas. I feel mentally exhausted. Everything feels important. And sometimes the issue is not always about laziness. Sometimes it's the structure. It's simply just the structure that just does not exist yet. It's kind of like trying to organize an entire house while everything is still sitting inside taped up moving boxes. You know important things are inside. You know some of it matters deeply, but until things become visible, everything just feels like pressure. And everything just continues to move around from one place to another without a purpose or intention to structure it wisely. So instead of trying to hold everything mentally, I always start sketching my thoughts out visibly because I simply need to see what actually is sitting inside my head. Because visibility creates clarity and structure creates relief. This became what I started calling the thought architecture map. This is simply a visible framework for organizing layered thoughts and responsibilities because sometimes clarity begins when thoughts stop living only in the mind. And you can absolutely create your very own version of this, by the way. You don't have to use mine. But because I know some people work better with structure already started, I also turned this into a downloadable guide, not because your version needs to look exactly like mine, but because sometimes it helps to begin with a visible framework right in front of you, already created for you. So that way you can plan on personalizing your very own of this one day. So the first thing I started asking myself was, what am I actually carrying right now? Not what I wish I was doing, not what people online or offline say I should prioritize. What am I genuinely carrying mentally right now? And once I started writing it down, I realized how much invisible organization my brain was trying to hold together every day. And this is just one visible map I've created from many. So I would recommend that you write categories one by one: responsibilities, ideas, unresolved decisions, creative work, systems needing structure, unfinished projects, recurring friction. And one important section here was emotional weight. Not many people write this down, but they feel it every day. And not many people realize that emotional pressure actually affects everyday decision making. It affects focus, it affects clarity. When something keeps sitting unresolved in the background, it quietly consumes mental attention. Even if nobody else sees it, even if you never speak of it. And this is where AI started becoming useful to me. Not before the brain dump, after it. Because AI cannot organize thoughts that never became visible. And this is where I think people misunderstand what AI actually is for. Because AI is not deciding my life or your life. It is not replacing discernment, it is not replacing wisdom, and it is definitely not replacing responsibility. What it can do is help organize what finally became visible. For example, once I could finally see everything sitting in front of me on my map, I could start asking better questions. Not what should I do with my life, but more like questions like this: what themes do you notice repeating here? Which responsibilities seem connected? Where do you notice friction showing up repeatedly? What appears to be lacking structure? Which responsibilities might need systems instead of more effort? What categories seem to be competing for attention at the same time? And that's very different because now AI is not inventing clarity, it is actually helping reflect visible information back to me in an organized way. And this is where context matters. If I open a completely fresh AI account, it knows nothing about me. So the answers stay more surface level, but over time, when AI consistently sees recurring responsibilities, recurring goals, recurring tensions, recurring projects, recurring patterns, it becomes much better at helping organizing information more meaningful. Not because it knows me better than I know myself, but because visible patterns begin to become recognizable easier over time, of course. Just like when we begin recognizing habits, rhythms, and tendencies in people we know well. And I think this is also the part where many people miss. AI is not the source of meaning. You are. AI is reflecting structure back to you. And sometimes that reflection helps people finally slow down enough to realize, oh, this is why everything has felt mentally noisy. Because many people are not lacking motivation, they're trying to organize too many invisible layers at the same time. And invisible complexity creates invisible exhaustion. So, no, the goal of this process is not becoming hyper productive. The goal is creating enough visible structure so your mind no longer has to carry everything at the same time. Because once those thoughts become visible, you can organize them, question them, simplify them, build systems around them, schedule them, structure them, or even let some of them go for now. And that changes the way you move through your day because now everything is no longer competing equally inside your head. And if this helps you, I'll leave the thought architecture map guide below so that you can print it and use it, rewrite it completely if you want, make it your own version. The point is not copying my structure, the point is finally getting what's already sitting inside your head into a place where you can actually see it. Because once things become visible, you can finally begin building with more clarity instead of carrying everything mentally all at the same time. This is Brand Fusionist, where layer thoughts become ordered steps.